That morning, the day before the wedding, I woke up at 6:30, even though my alarm was set for 8. The apartment was filled with that special kind of tension, solemn and electric, that only comes before big life events. My wedding dress hung in its garment bag on the closet door. I brewed myself a strong cup of coffee and started calling the florist, the photographer, the restaurant manager. Everything was on track. Every detail had been carefully planned. Our wedding had even made it into a few local news groups, the daughter of a hotel magnate marrying a rising star in the travel industry. Michael called around 9. His voice was cheerful, slightly distracted. "Hey, sweetheart. How's everything? All under control?" "Yes, of course." "Where are you?" "On my way to meet with some partners. I'll see you at the rehearsal tonight." At 11:30, while going over the guest list one last time, I got a notification about a new voice message. The number was unfamiliar, but something made me hit play. The voice was painfully familiar. Sophia, my college friend, speaking with that lazy, smug tone I remembered so well. "So, getting married tomorrow to your business queen? Hope she gives you a hotel as a wedding gift. But tonight, you're mine. Waiting for you." The message vanished as soon as I listened to it. But I'd heard every word, every inflection. At first, I told myself it had to be a bad joke. But a gnawing unease began to spread through my body. I dialed Sophia. No answer. Michael, same thing. That's when I grabbed my keys and drove to her house. On the way, I kept trying to come up with a logical explanation. Maybe I misunderstood. But my brain had already started piecing everything together, as if it knew the truth. Sophia lived in a quiet residential area on the outskirts of town. As I approached her street, I spotted a familiar gray car parked a block away from her house, Michael's car. He must have parked far on purpose, hoping no one would notice. "Not exactly subtle," I muttered, my mouth going dry. I pulled up in front of her house. Walked up to the door and rang the bell. No one answered. I saw shadows moving inside. 2 figures. One of them was definitely a man, tall, with Michael's distinct mannerisms. "Sophia." "Michael." "I can see you." I shouted at the door. "Come out. Let's talk like adults." Silence. Somewhere inside, music started playing, too loud. Right by the porch stood a garden statue, a stone angel with a broken wing. I tried lifting it to break a window, but it was too heavy. My hand slipped, the statue didn't budge. I got back in the car and started the engine. My whole body was shaking. My thoughts scrambled and collided in my head. Why did I have such bad luck with men? My ex, Robert, the owner of that yacht club restaurant, had dumped me 2 months before our wedding. Said he wasn't ready for commitment. A month later, I saw him vacationing in Miami with some blonde. And now this, cheated on the day before the wedding. Maybe it really was me. Maybe I attracted the wrong people. But this time, I wouldn't fall apart. I wouldn't crawl away in shame. If Michael thought I'd cry and cancel the wedding, he was wrong. I drove aimlessly. Away from her. From them. From the wedding that now meant nothing. I turned the radio on and off again. Any song felt like a punch to the gut. After an hour of driving around the city, I urgently needed a restroom. I remembered one of our family's hotels was nearby, the Road King. I decided to stop there. Pulled in through the service entrance and parked without thinking. The security guard glanced at me but said nothing, probably recognized me. In the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror, trying to pull it together. Puffy face, smeared mascara. And tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding. Guests were coming. The venue was booked. The photographer paid. Only the groom was missing. What if I found a replacement? The thought flashed through my mind, wild, absurd. As I was walking out of the hotel, I bumped into a man in a work uniform carrying 2 5-gallon water jugs. One of them rolled away across the pavement. Sorry, he said, bending to grab it. You're clumsy, I snapped, even though it was my fault. He picked up the bottle, shifted the other back onto his shoulder, and looked at me calmly. No flattery, no irritation. Just quiet observation. He looked about 35, maybe a bit older. Dark hair, steady posture. Your phone, he said, bending down to pick up my iPhone. He handed it to me and was about to walk away. Wait, I said. He turned, waiting. I'm supposed to get married tomorrow, I said, my voice all business. But the groom isn't who I thought he was. I need a replacement. I'll pay you more than a mover makes in a year. But there's a condition. Complete silence. No claims later. If you agree, we go to my lawyer right now and sign a prenup. He studied my face for 10 seconds, then nodded. I'm in. What's your name? Daniel. Get in the car, Daniel. We drove to Andrew, my lawyer, one of the few people who wouldn't ask questions. On the way, I laid it all out, a formal marriage for 1 month, full financial support from me, no personal obligations or demands. After a month, mutual divorce. Daniel listened in silence, nodding now and then. At the office, everything was signed in under 90 minutes. Andrew raised an eyebrow when I explained, but didn't pry. Professionalism. Here's your advance, I told Daniel, handing him an envelope of cash. Tomorrow, buy yourself a suit and clean up. The ceremony's at 1 p.m. I'll text you the address. He took the envelope without counting. All right. As we returned to the hotel, my phone rang. Michael. Hey, sweetheart. How's everything? All set for the big day? I looked at Daniel stepping out of the car. Yes, Michael. Everything's ready. The time changed a bit though. Come an hour later than planned. Why? Just some logistics. Don't worry. Then I sent the same message to Sophia. Let them both show up, an hour late. I wanted them to see everything with their own eyes. I woke up at 7 a.m. without an alarm. My body just knew, today was the day everything would change. It was drizzling outside, but the forecast promised sunshine by noon. First thing, I grabbed my phone and called the officiant for the outdoor ceremony. Mrs. Johnson, there's a small change. The groom's name is no longer Michael Crawford. It's Daniel. I hesitated, realizing I didn't even know my new husband's last name. I'll confirm the last name in an hour. For now, just remove Michael's name from all the paperwork. But how? The officiant began. The name is changing. The ceremony is not, I said firmly. I'll call you back in an hour. Next, I called the wedding planner. Tiffany, I need to replace the groom's name on all the signage. Decorations. The arch everywhere it says Michael, it's now Daniel. Miss Harrison, everything's already printed. Then reprint it. I'll pay extra. Just get it done. Then I called the restaurant manager and the ceremony host. Same instructions everywhere, remove any personalized mentions, love story details, shared memories. Keep it strictly formal. At 9 a.m., I texted Daniel, I need your last name for the documents. He replied 5 minutes later, Harrison Daniel. Something about it triggered a faint memory, but I brushed it aside. By 9:30, the stylists arrived. Hair, makeup, just like planned. The stylist chatted about the weather, fashion trends, while I stared at my reflection thinking, this time, it's going to be on my terms. At 11, the restaurant crew began arriving at the venue. Province was the city's most prestigious spot, overlooking the river. A covered terrace, an arch of white peonies and lisianthus, exactly what I had imagined. By noon, I was ready. White dress with a long train, stilettos, heirloom jewelry from my grandmother's box. In the mirror, a calm, composed bride looked back at me. No one would guess she found her groom among the hotel's delivery crew just the day before. I left for the restaurant at 12:30. The photographer was already there, capturing the decor and guests. The planners rushed to finish the final touches. "Miss Harrison, you're remarkably calm today," said Janice, the photographer. "Most brides are a bundle of nerves." "I've got it under control," I replied, adjusting my veil. Guests began to arrive, my colleagues, distant relatives, a few college friends. On Michael's side, his parents came, Victoria and Oliver Crawford, his Aunt Lydia, cousin Arthur and his wife, and several people I didn't recognize. They exchanged looks, whispered among themselves. Victoria approached me. "Catherine, where's Michael?" "He's running late." "He'll be here soon," I smiled. "Tying up a few last-minute work things." At 1:10, with all the guests seated, a car pulled up. Out stepped a man in a perfectly tailored suit, freshly shaved, hairstyled, polished shoes. He held a bouquet of white roses. I froze for a moment. It was Daniel, but completely transformed. No trace of the delivery guy. He looked more confident, more refined than Michael ever did. His walk was assured, his posture straight, his gaze steady. "Hope I'm not late," he said, walking toward me. "You look stunning." I nodded, unable to say a word. The host announced the start of the ceremony. The guests stood. First, I walked toward the arch to Pachelbel's cannon, then Daniel followed. The reaction from the crowd was immediate. Oliver leaned over to whisper something to Victoria. She raised her brows and even stood slightly, but her husband held her hand. Aunt Lydia openly scanned the crowd, searching for Michael. Arthur and his wife exchanged looks and both reached for their phones. But no one dared intervene. The public setting, the prestige of the venue, and the number of guests kept everyone in check. The officiant began with the usual lines about love and loyalty. Daniel stood beside me, holding the bouquet, responding "I do" at all the right moments. No hesitation. Not a single slip. When we exchanged rings and the officiant said, "You may now kiss the bride," Daniel leaned in. The kiss was brief and respectful, but it earned a round of applause. I took the bouquet and tossed it to the crowd of single women. Everyone clapped, laughed, snapped photos. And that's when a familiar gray car pulled up near the venue. Michael stepped out in a black suit, top shirt button undone, like some beachside Casanova. Behind him came Sophia, wearing a short red dress and high heels. They stopped at the entrance to the terrace and saw me in another man's arms. The laughter, the flashing cameras, the applause, it all hit them at once. I spotted them first but didn't flinch. Slowly, I picked up a glass of champagne and took a sip, locking eyes with Michael. He strode onto the terrace like nothing was wrong. Sophia trailed behind, clearly uncomfortable under all the guest stares. Oliver, Michael's father, was the first to break. "Michael, what's going on? Explain yourself. Now." Michael scanned the room, letting his gaze land on me and Daniel. His face was still full of smug confidence. "It's just a joke," he said with a fake smile. "We thought it'd be fun to prank the guests a little." Victoria stood and shouted across the terrace. "What kind of circus is this? Enough with the games. Let's get to the real ceremony already, it's starting to get ridiculous." A few of the guests murmured in agreement. Aunt Lydia stood up and declared, "This is complete nonsense." I didn't react. The ceremony host spoke in my place. "Friends, it seems we have a little surprise today. Let's keep the festive spirit alive." But the pressure kept building. Michael raised his hands, trying to get everyone's attention. "Sorry for the performance. We just wanted to make our wedding a little different. We'll begin the real ceremony now." At that moment, I stepped up to the microphone. "You all want to know what's going on. Fine. I'll ask just one question. Where were you last night, Michael?" The room fell silent. Even the music faded out. Michael started fumbling for words. "I had urgent meetings with partners, I told you." I cut him off, still calm. And do your business meetings always end at the maid of honor's house with a bottle of wine and your phone turned off? There were gasps from the guests. Heads turned from me to Michael and back again. Phones were already being raised. Sophia turned red and took a step back, trying to hide behind Michael. Victoria grabbed her son's arm. Are you serious? You were with her? Michael snapped. He yelled. Shut up. All of you. She made this up, she's lost it. He lunged toward me, hand swinging, clearly aiming to knock the mic out of my hand. But Daniel stepped between us in one swift move and shoved Michael hard in the chest. Michael fell flat on his back in front of everyone. Daniel leaned down and said, not loudly, but clearly enough for all to hear. Raising your hand to a woman, in front of everyone? Now you've shown your true self. I stepped back and picked up the mic again. Michael was still on the ground. 2 security guards from the restaurant, big guys in black suits, rushed over to him. They tried to lift him by the elbows, but he fought back, waving his arms. Don't touch me. This is a setup. It's all lies. His voice cracked, turning high-pitched and shrill. Sophia stood off to the side, fidgeting with the strap of her purse, eyes glued to the floor. My father rose from his seat in the front row and asked loudly, Is it true, Michael? Were you with Sophia last night? Michael looked at Sophia, then at me, wiped his face with his sleeve. For a few seconds, he was quiet, thrown off. Then he blurted, No. Of course not. We just met for a minute, to talk about work. That's when Sophia, who had been trying to disappear, stepped forward. Everyone turned to her. She raised her head and said, loud and clear, He was with me all night. He doesn't love Catherine. He wanted to marry her for the business, for a stake in the hotel chain. He loves me. The room exploded. People jumped up, gasped, grabbed their phones. Victoria covered her face with her hands, then abruptly dropped them and turned toward her son. I'm ashamed of you. Ashamed to call you my son. Oliver silently nodded to the restaurant security. Get this man off the property. Michael tried to yell, tried to break free, but the guards had a firm grip on him. He didn't look defeated, just stunned, like someone who couldn't believe things hadn't gone his way. Catherine, he shouted as they dragged him out. You'll regret this. You ruined everything. I watched him go, then walked up to the mic and said, Thanks for coming, Michael. You're just a little late. The only thing you managed to hit today was your own reputation. And you've done a perfect job of it. Now, if anyone's still in the mood to celebrate, the reception's in the main hall. Everything's going as planned, only the groom is better. Half the guests burst into applause. The other half sat in stunned silence, but almost no one left. They'd just witnessed something unforgettable. The mood shifted, lighter, livelier. People began moving to the banquet hall, where tables were set, flowers arranged, and soft music played. As the guests settled in, the host picked up the mic again. Dear friends, today we've witnessed a most unusual wedding. And now the bride's father would like to say a few words. My dad stood up, lifted a glass of champagne, and spoke to the room. I just want to say one thing. In less than 24 hours, my daughter found a man I can actually trust. His name is Daniel Harrison. He's the head of operations for our entire hotel chain. Reliable, honest, and respected. Thank you for standing beside my daughter, son. Hearing those words, something shifted inside me. I slowly turned my head toward Daniel and, for the first time all day, really looked at him. Harrison. Daniel Harrison. How could I have forgotten that name? Something clicked. 7th grade. The schoolyard. I looked down into my champagne glass and took a big sip, feeling my cheeks flush. The reception continued. The host ran games, the music played, people laughed, and finally began to enjoy themselves. At one point, the host said, We had a slideshow prepared for the couple, But since the groom was a last-minute substitution, we unfortunately don't have a love story. Daniel stood from his seat. Actually, I brought my own presentation. Can we play it? The host nodded, and a grainy home video appeared on the big screen, clearly filmed on an old camera. The timestamp read May 27, 2005. A schoolyard. A group of teenage girls surrounding an overweight boy in thick glasses and baggy clothes. They were mocking him, laughing, pointing. One of the girls was me. Clearly me, even after all these years. Silence fell over the room. No one dared stop the video. Daniel walked to the screen. That was me. Thank you to everyone who laughed at me back then. You helped shape who I am now. I built my career from scratch, earned respect, and now, he paused, glanced at Andrew the lawyer sitting at one of the tables, and gave him a wink. Thanks to my wife and our amended prenup, I'll be doing even more for the hotel chain. The room burst into applause. I sat there in shock, but then a slow song started playing, the same one we had at our senior prom. Daniel walked over and smiled. 10 years ago, you turned me down for a dance. Tonight, you don't have a choice. I stood up, and we began our first dance. To my surprise, something in his arms made me feel completely at peace. I felt safe, and I didn't want the dance to end. Other couples joined us. The evening turned magical. 3 years have passed since that wild day when I married a man I'd only known for 24 hours. Now, sitting on the couch in our living room, holding our baby girl Daisy, I smile as I think back to that crazy wedding. Daniel is beside me, flipping through work papers. Daisy sleeps soundly in my arms, letting out the occasional sleepy sigh. Remember when you played that video? I say. I thought you just wanted to get back at me. I did, Daniel admits, eyes still on the papers. When I saw you at the hotel, I recognized you right away. I thought fate had handed me the perfect shot at revenge. So what stopped you? He sets the papers down and turns to me. You did. When I saw how broken and lost you were, I realized life had already punished you enough. And then, when we started living together, what happened next? Then I realized people change. You changed. You became someone else. Our prenuptial agreement was meant to last 1 month. Just a month of formal partnership. No obligations, no strings attached. But Daniel turned out to be nothing like I expected. He didn't ask for anything, didn't push, didn't try to take advantage of the situation. He simply lived alongside me, helping with day-to-day things, keeping up appearances for family and friends. After a week, I realized I was comfortable around him. After 2, I found myself looking forward to him coming home from work. And by the end of the month, when the contract was due to expire, I knew I didn't want him to leave. Maybe we should extend the agreement? I offered casually. Or maybe, he replied, we sign a new one, with no time limit. And just like that, our 1-month deal became a real marriage. Daniel really was the head of operations for our hotel chain. A serious position, with real responsibilities. My dad hadn't lied when he introduced him to the guests. What about Michael? I asked, tucking Daisy's blanket around her. I heard he opened his own PR agency. With Sophia, of course. Word is, things aren't going great. Do you feel bad for him? For who? Him or her? Him. I mean, you two were supposed to get married. Daniel pauses, thinking. You know, I'm actually grateful to him. If he hadn't cheated, we never would have met. And I'd still be that chubby kid from school you barely remembered. Daisy starts to stir and lets out a soft whimper. I rock her gently and sing a lullaby. When she's older, do you think we'll tell her the whole story? I ask. We'll tell her. But not everything. We'll say Mom and Dad met at a hotel, fell in love at first sight, and got married the next day. That's almost true. Almost, Daniel smiles, kissing the top of my head. the most beautiful version of the truth we've got.